Here's a question as a non-Pokemon fan.
Okay.
Which generation had fucking Goldie in it?
Goldie?
Yeah.
Goldie was
Goldien was first gen.
All right. Well, okay. Hey, hello everybody, and welcome back to Young Geek versus Old Geek. This week's topic is Pokemon. What is the best generation? Arguing right now, we have a Young Geek and an Older Geek, and they're gonna introduce themselves and tell you what they're arguing for.
Hi, I'm Chad. I'm the Young Geek. I'm arguing that Generation 3 is the best generation.
I'm Matt. I'm the Old Geek. I'm arguing that Gen 1 is the best generation.
And as always, we got the Watchman in the corner that'll be keeping track of time. Now, Christensen, you won the Boing Boss, so we're going to go with you first.
You're just going to screw up something every episode, aren't you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So other than the simple fact that Gen 1 is what started it all, what started the craze, what started everybody into Pokemon the rest of the time, Gen 1 has the best overall setup of Pokemon with very little waste of what ones they put in there. Partially because it was intended to be intentional that they didn't want people turned off by the game when first released, but also just because just as a balanced set, it is the most comprehensively balanced set of Pokemon there are. It has the highest number of evolutions for any of the generations. I guess you could say they're not really gimmicky, although Pokemon itself is a gimmicky thing. They had to show off everything that it was about in the first generation, and it did a pretty good job setting up everything else. Yes, there are certain things that took off from that, but it established all but 3 of the types, which they felt like over time they didn't really need to add any more. So 15 of the 18 types can be found in Gen 1. The bonus game stuff for that game as well produced one of the strongest psychic type Pokemon in Mewtwo. And their bonus Pokemon Mew, which was a gimmick in terms of how you got it originally, was the only gimmick one that they really had in terms of anything like that. Yes, there's the whole premise that you have to trade between the 2 of them to get all of them, but that's just part of the whole system as it was. So, and also last point, consistently the 3 starters for Gen 1 are always ranked as the top 3 starters amongst all generations every time the vote comes up.
Gen 3 is my favorite gen because that's when I feel that Pokemon started to actually kind of be good. Gen 1 and 2, to me, are not very good, and I understand that they're what started it. However, there were still plenty of flaws with it. There was almost no strategy involved in any way. It was kind of just whichever could hit harder and whichever could take less damage or whichever could take more to see which would win. And the designs were not all that great. They weren't helped by the fact that it was on the Game Boy, but I mean, that doesn't, still, I can't just say that they're good because they were on a bad system graphically. Also, Gen 3 was very good because it felt more like a real world situation. You felt like you were actually in the game. A lot of the design philosophy behind it was like duality, where certain Pokemons would go with each other, Plusle and Minun, Volbeat, Illumise, or there were predators and prey. There was a lot more interconnection between the Pokemon and everything in it. Also, Hoenn is a great region. It's covered in water and land, and there's actually a balance of it where there's not just one area that's water and that's it for the entire thing. It's just a great big melting pot of everything, and I think it's great because it really feels like this could be a real place that exists, and all these Pokemon that are here are like things that you could see if Pokemon were real, and it actually makes sense because everything's intermingled. Yeah, so that's my argument.
All right, so those are the two arguments. Which is better, Generation 1 or Generation 3 of Pokemon? I'm a huge Generation 2 fan. Glibglop is my favorite Pokemon.
You don't know what Generation 3 is.
Yeah, and Glibglop was a bit major for the arc in Generation 2. Not that anybody cares. It's fine.
Said that there was little waste, and I'm looking through right now to see if I can find anything or if I just am pulling at straws here.
I'll name a couple wasted ones for you. Farfetch'd was wasted in the original game. Mr. Mime, to an extent, was wasted because there wasn't really any cross-battling thing for it, so his moves didn't mean much of anything in the actual game itself. The Safari Pokemon, you're hit and miss, depending on what you like out of them.
So, wait, are you helping out Young Geek's argument against your argument? All right.
In his research, I'm guiding him places he can.
And there are some Pokemon that I feel like have wasted potential. Like Tangela, I think is a really cool Pokemon personally, but it could have been used, had like an evolution that could have turned out to be cool. Ammonite is really famous for no reason. All the fossil Pokemon two of them are almost the exact same Pokemon at a certain point. There's Kabuto and Ammonite.
How many of these assholes are there?
There's 151.
There's 151 in Gen 1, 135 in Gen 3.
Okay, so we're talking like 300 jerks, right?
Just about.
Yeah, some of them are going to be duds. Okay, some of them are going to be duds. That's okay. They create video games. They're not, look at Earth. God dropped the ball several times. Like it's many things we don't need. So that look dumb and serve no purpose. So
Did you ever catch all of the unknown?
Oh, no, I did not.
Neither did I. Don't feel bad. I never caught all of them either.
You mentioned Goldeen. Goldeen seems useless to me because it's like we have Magikarp and that already turns into Gyarados, which is a great Pokemon to use, versus there's Goldeen, which I can't even remember what he turns into. Seeking, I think? Yeah.
he turns into Disappointment.
Yeah.
Disappointment is the fish that just lays there and begs for you to die. It can't die out of water, so you got to smother it with a pillow. Yeah, Fluff, the pillow Pokemon. You got to take Fluff and cover Goldie.
Generation 3 is the generation that killed the Pokemon song. It made the Pokemon song obsolete. This is why I was asking what ones you actually played.
I hate to put you on the spot, but could we hear a couple lines of the Pokemon song? Could we hear just a little bit? Not a lot. No, I don't want to hear the whole song. Just a little bit.
To catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause.
Yeah, that's the Pokemon song.
It is the Pokemon song.
That's like Freebird. Everybody knows that one.
Yeah, 35 Pokemon, being the third highest overall, 154 for Gen 5, I believe. X and Y is the highest. Was because literally they had to start over, and they couldn't include all the Pokemon from 1 and 2 into Gen 3 when it was first released. It took all the way till the re-releases of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire to actually have all the Pokemon be able to be caught again. So Gen 3 forced a change in everything, and the whole gotta catch them all mentality died after Gen 2 going into Gen 3.
Then again, there were also already 400 Pokemon pretty much in Gen 3, almost. So if you wanted to catch them all, it was going to be hard anyways. And I played it on the DS using an emulator for Game Boy Advance cartridges, so I didn't have that struggle or anything, and I didn't really try for completing the Pokedex because that wasn't really my thing.
The best Pokemon game
the
ever.
Best most comprehensive game would be Gold Silver, because it was 2 games in one.
Okay.
It was its own game, plus the first game all as one game.
All right. Chad, the Old Geek says Gold Silver is the best Pokemon
Yeah.
game. What do you got?
I would say Emeralds is probably the best because it brought together everything that was good about Ruby and Sapphire and fixed a lot of the things that were poor about it. In my opinion, there might have been some things that I don't know about because I wasn't there at the time to play it. Because technically my first generation was Gen 4, but I went back and played Gen 3 and a couple of the older games, and I just fell in love with Gen 3 and the Hoenn region and everything about it.
One other thing I'll say about Gen 3, at least the original Gen 3, is yes, it introduced the new things, introduced the tag team battles, introduced some of the contests and everything else like that, but the original one was gimmicky as all hell. Phoebus, how you get involved into Militech required you to go through the beauty pageants and win and have it be the most beautiful thing ever for it to evolve. Even the one you mentioned with Ninkata, to get Shedinja, you have to go through this process of you have to have a Pokeball, an open slot in your team, and then go through the evolution process at that point. The Reggie, without a strategy guide back in the day, you had to solve the unknown puzzles, which were very hard in the original versions of the game.
There can be fun in gimmicks, and some of the fun in that is that it's not just as simple as leveling up to this level and now you have a new Pokemon. It's there, like the legendary events probably weren't the best, but playing the game and trying out all these new things and figuring out what works and what doesn't, and I can get a new Pokemon by doing this, or I can do this and get this item out of it, and part of the fun is the gimmicks.
So Blurblop would do a water spray. It was really great.
Okay.
And he'd go blurp 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 and spray Ash and the Rocket Twins.
They're twins now. That's cool.
Didn't know they were related.
Old Geek, final thoughts on Pokemon Generation 1 versus Pokemon Generation 3.
So Generation 1, for being as old as it is and as basic as it was for everything at the time, and seemingly still now, is still the basis they take a lot of things from. Like a lot of third style evolutions come off of Gen 1 Pokemon, because people still enjoy the Gen 1 Pokemon, and they are still effective for a lot of things. A lot of the form change Pokemon that came for both Alola and Galarian regions are Gen 1 Pokemon form changed into matching the region itself there as well. It's something that still stays with everybody. It's the ones that most people know and recognize anyway, outside of just Pikachu, because Pikachu's its own thing, being made the mascot, even though that was never the intention. It's just that's what people went for. And you got to do what the people want. Right, James?
Yeah.
Generation 3 is, I think, the greatest because it improved on what was done in the past two generations, and it stayed its own identity. Because the anime was really popular, so they made a game out of it. And then the second one was, the first game was really popular, so we're going to make the same game again, but like add a little bit more. And then third gen was like, okay, this is actually a property now. We should make these games really good and make the world that you play in something that you want to be in, and something that you actually enjoy being in, instead of just wanting to 100% everything and wanting to get past all the battles. And it's something that it's lost over time, but I think that Generation 3 was kind of the peak for where that was when, yeah.
And so that's it. Which is the best Pokemon generation? Generation 1 or Generation 3? You tell us in the comments below, and we will see you next time. Everybody wave goodbye on Old Geek versus Young Geek. Young Geek.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I did ask Maverick's mom if it was okay. Are you 18 yet, Chad?
I'm almost
Almost
there.
18.
He's almost
You need-
18,
Do
officer.
you need me to get my mom in the room? Or?
No. The train left the station.
All right.
Let's be okay with. Let's all be cool. Chad, do you want to be
right.
cool?
Yeah, I'll be cool.
Yeah, just be cool, Chad. Let adults record you and put it on the internet. And Christensen the old geek couldn't use his Game Boy Advance because I stole it during the grocery store strike so that I could play Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past out in the parking lot.
Yes, you did. Now that it's on camera and you're going to edit it out, I still won't be able to use it against
But I'll be able to keep it and watch it, and it'll make me happy.
you. I know, though.
Yeah.